If you've gotten this far, you would probably have already heard it. Wow, it's really long. Right, she said to walk down the centre. So let's do that. Oh, I've got people coming. Which one is the centre? Down here. Right. This is the centre.
Smells of wheat.
It does, it's got a funky smell in here. A wheat smell. Oh, there's a bird in here. They've numbered the poles. It's interesting to see all the crisscrossy patterns. There is a bird flying about in here. I'm not looking up at trees, this is a bit different for me, but there used to be trees. Wow, so big.
They're some sticks, aren't they?
Pick up sticks.
Stay up sticks.
As you can see, there's people in my way. I keep walking. They look like vines, don't they?
They would have been tighter than that.
Yes, well, the one on the other side's taut. As you can see, they've been reinforced. This one looks a bit munted. That's really rotted away, that one. It's really bizarre in here, I must say. It's not something I've ever experienced before. Just curious about why there's a hole over here. Oh, must have been where all the wheat ran. Oh, Graham's got There's always one menace.
probably put augers into the conveyor belt there. Auger taking it out.
We've got the light at the right time of day. It's just coming through the sunroof. Otherwise it would be pitch black in here. That looks kind of cool, all those lights coming through there with all the sticks. There's a contraption over here. I need to know what that is. Been lots of reinforcing here. Like that.
Yeah.
There's a bit of machinery over here. Can you explain these contraptions, Graham?
Don't know. Oh, it might have been the... No, I don't know.
Oops.
A bit of dust on the bottom of the belt.
Wheat dust.
Right in the zone.
Okay, go on then. Well, I had to leave my mark in here.
So, to get the wheat out, they would have a dragger that would drag the wheat over to around here somewhere, and then there'd be an auger, and they'd put it in, lift up this little flap, and that would lock up somehow, and they'd poke the auger through there, and the wheat would go onto the conveyor belt, then be taken out to the rail trucks or road trucks.
So incredibly long. And that way. And that way. I wonder if they find that. I'm posting this anyway, I did tell them. So hey, we wrote in your wheat, what is it, conveyor belt thingy. Right, let's go back into the centre.
From here.
Yes, I saw them. So yes, there's a couple of seated areas where you can watch some more information on the goings on.
That one with all the 4 guide wires around it to hold it straight. Or something.
I know. Not sure what's happened here. That's the centre point, we think.
Push one pin through the belt and that sort of thing, and gradually just sort of come up with this machine that operated by a lever to punch the 5 holes in and that sort of thing, and they sent the crew in on the Saturday then. I know I worked all hours, you know, well actually I think I got home while I was still living on the farm. I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, I think, and his mother was up already, and she said, you got to start early, and I said, no, I'm just getting home. I said, I got to be back there by about 7, because I was due things to finish off before the guys come in to do the belts. And anyway, I got back in there, and at about 7, got it fixed, and everything was ready to go. Anyway, then boss comes in, kicked off. And he goes right off, you know, he says, "Come on, playing your overtime, you can't waste time like this," and all this. Anyway, we had a whole lot finished by lunchtime. So, but once that happened, well then the engineer down the island said, "Oh," he said, "that might come in handy, so we'll send a few more belts in." So from then on, I placed all the belts around Victoria and even into New South. Had to modify it a few times because they wanted 4-hole and 3-hole and that sort of thing, and then modified it a bit further because the belts after I think about 10 years they changed to a lot stronger ply. They were a pure nylon. The original ones were cotton ply belts. And then the pure nylon thread in it.
Trying not to get my shadow into this, but not really succeeding. But anyway, that was a bit of a look at the machinery here.
And the thread,
Right, I'm going to keep going because I want to get to the end. Back into the middle again. Bit of information about upkeep when that one got replaced last. This is interesting, it talks about the bow trusses. These adjustable wire trusses seen on many poles are called bow trusses. They operate in a similar way to the bracing on a ship's mast, and in this shed they support poles which were out of shape and had a minor fault of some kind or were very slender. The cables are usually tighter on one side than the other in an attempt to keep the poles straight, so vertical forces cannot break them easily. This method was employed during the Heritage Victoria's restoration work to save as many original poles as possible rather than replace them with steel. That will explain why Graham was saying some are taut and some are not. That's nice and shiny. When the shed was built in 1941-2, all wheat was transported to it by train and came from the North wheat fields. The already present concrete silos by the train lines filled wheat carrying rolling stock just like the ones out by the main car park. These dumped the loose wheat into a pit under the railway adjacent the western end, where it was picked up by a large elevator and brought into the shed by overhead conveyor belt to be dumped as required to fill the shed, and simply by using barriers across the belt which forced wheat over the sides. It was emptied by using horizontal conveyors at ground level which fed the wheat onto the conveyor belt along the southern wall and back to the main elevator again, which then dumped the wheat back into the trains alongside the western end, ready for their journey to the Victorian ports. I'm still not at the end. Right, I've reached the end. There's an incredible amount of creaking going on, and because of the sun, you can see all the holes in the roof with the sun coming through. We might be able to get out this way. There's this ladder.
Must be a hopper outside. This is where like trucks would drive over this.
Yes, this huge hopper or pit in the ground extends under the shed wall to an adjacent filling area outside and was constructed about 1947. This allowed local farmers to bring wheat to the shed, which was usually filled by trains from other areas at the opposite end. Farmers could empty their wheat bags into the pit outside or pour directly from the grain-carrying vehicles if they owned them. Inside, a new elevator would scoop up the loose wheat and transfer it up to the overhead conveyor belt, where it could be deposited as needed within the main top belt. It could be seen and run in either direction to facilitate this. The rest of this auxiliary elevator is located nearby along the south wall. There you have it. Alright, there's some machinery I want to get right at the beginning of this, so we've got to quickly move back again.
Run all the way up to the top.
Yeah. And I could see that pulley thing there. I'll just zoom in, show you that rope there. There's some more stuff down here. I saw some machinery that fascinated me. It's right at the beginning of this, so I'm going to have to hurry up and get to the end before it closes. I'm just looking at all the lights in the ground and the reflection. Very simple things.
Must be at the other end.
So that's where the belt, conveyor belt starts.
Ended.
And that's the same line that we wrote in the dust. Let me just show you. It's going to go on for ages. Can't even see the end. It's crazy, crazy long. Right. There was some machinery down the end on the right hand side, Graham. Did you see it? Yes, I need to see it.
So there is a pit outside there, covered, that the trucks could drive over.
I was just reading about that. Graham reckons he counted 57 of these columns. We're almost back to the start. The sun's coming in. That's kind of cool. Interesting flare. This was what I was interested in over here. It's at the very, very end. I'm guessing that's where the conveyor belt comes out. That's the end of the line there for sure. Right. Trying not to walk into all these ropes. It's got a funny smell. It almost smells of gas, but it wouldn't be. They're projecting up there. There goes my head. Okay. I'm in an area I probably need to back out of. Superphosphate. Okay, well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this tour of the stick shed. Very interesting. Okay, we're leaving now. Out into the fresh air, but look at all the holes where the sun's coming through. I need to get some fresh air. What a specky place to come and visit. Most unusual. Don't go in there. No. I keep going and going until I get to the end of it's falling apart. Okay, that's how far. Okay, well that's it. Lots of history here. That was obviously the rail line. Looks like some old conveyor belt. I could be wrong. And what would I know? Doesn't look like deep water. I'd be curious to know how deep it is. That was what I was filming when we first arrived. Right, time to hop back in the car and get back to Horsham. It's family games night tonight. Okay peeps, bye!